Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm here with a special episode, and this time I'm here to talk about what options are available for BlackBerries if you still want to use one in 2020. Now, there's not a whole lot left. There hasn't been a new phone in over a year now, the last one being the BlackBerry Key LE that came out in December of 2018, right before we rolled into 2019. So it's just almost a year and a half old now. The first one, of course, was the Keyone. Then they came out with the Keyone Black Edition, and then you have the Motion and the Key 2. So we have the four different devices that BlackBerry Mobile made. And then if you look back a little bit farther, you can get into the BlackBerry Priv, which was the last true BlackBerry made by BlackBerry. And then there's still the BlackBerry 10 options, and then some people are still on legacy devices. So I know that people like to hold on to the BlackBerries. I mean, shoot, I've still got my Z10 here that I switched over from the Galaxy S3 to this phone. Whenever it came out, I waited for it forever. I also have the Priv, and then I have the Keyone, and then I have the Key 2, and then I have the Motion and the Key 2 LE. So I have all of them sitting here, and I'm here to talk to you about which one may still be the best for you if you're interested in using one in 2020. Now, there are caveats. There are asterisks, there are all sorts of things next to them, because really and truly, if you want to face reality, which reality is something we have to deal with, obviously there are no more new BlackBerries, and we don't know if we're going to get any because the licensing deal with TCL under the BlackBerry Mobile name is going to end on August 31st of this year, 2020, which effectively means we're back in the same position we were when BlackBerry stopped making devices a few years ago. So there are a lot of reasons not to use one moving forward, but I know that there's a bunch of diehard BlackBerry fans out there like me who still are interested in using one. So those are the people I'm talking to today. Now, before I go any further, I do want to say thanks for stopping by the channel. If this is your first time coming to watch one of my videos, I appreciate you being here. If you enjoy this video and the content, please hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you want updates on the latest videos, then go ahead and hit the notification bell so you can get those notifications. Now, let's go ahead and move forward and talk about the BlackBerry options in 2020. All right, so option number one is I'm going to talk about BlackBerry 10 devices. So BlackBerry 10, I believe, came out in like 2012. I was there the first day that the store opened so I could get my BlackBerry Z10. BlackBerry 10 was the upgrade from the legacy system OS's BBOS 7, and it took them forever to make it. And by the time it finally hit the market, the demand for BlackBerries in the consumer world had already shifted over to iPhones, or even some of the Android devices, because it just took them so long to catch up with the times, and they decided that they wanted to compete in this consumer sector, which was fine. I've been using a BlackBerry since 2005, totally love them. Well, the Z10 is, probably not a phone that you want to use nowadays. Neither is the Z30. There's also the Classic. There's the Leap. There's the Q5. There's the Q10. There's the Passport. There's a whole bunch of different devices they made with BlackBerry 10 operating system. I really can't, on good conscience, recommend that anyone use one anymore. The BlackBerry 10 OS has basically been on life support for a long time now, but some people still like to use them. If you insist on using a BlackBerry 10 device, recognize that it's basically only good for email, text messaging. The browser, last time I tried to use it, is completely terrible. It's pretty much only a communications device, which is kind of funny because it's really and truly what the original BlackBerries were. We just, as BlackBerry users, had a desire to have consumer operating models on them like iPhone and Android, where we could use them for games, we could use them for all sorts of things, social media. The BlackBerry 10 App Store, I believe, is shut down already. If it's not, it's going to. So really the only way you can get stuff, you can still sideload Android apps, but it's limited to the Android 4.4 KitKat operating system. So how long that's going to be supported really kind of depends on the apps that are out there. So there's not a whole lot that you can really do other than sideloading this stuff. And there are ways to do that, and I've done it before, but I'm kind of removed from that market now, and I don't really recommend that. If you're going to go that route, I would say just get one of the Android BlackBerry phones and move on, because really they are better and newer and more efficient. But there are still options if you insist on using a BlackBerry 10 device. Now, if you really, really love this device, there's also the BlackBerry Priv. I made a video on this recently, a look back at the Priv. It was very revolutionary when it came out. You've got the slider with the sliding keyboard, which is touch sensitive, which rolled over into the BlackBerry Keyone device. I never had any of the D-Tech devices. I don't really recommend them. I know some people love them. I don't have any personal experience with them, and they're still not much newer in the operating system and overpriced. So this phone had a lot of issues with it. It still does. It still overheats. It still has poor battery life. The camera is okay. The keyboard and the typing experience are still good. A lot of people still really love this device. I found when I made the video that a lot of people still really love it. And that's cool. I mean, I really love this device too. I went out and I sat in line. There was no line, I'm not going to lie. I got there the morning they came out, and I actually took a picture and I posted it on Crackberry because I used to be really, really involved in the Crackberry forums. I was like, here, look guys, it's the line for the BlackBerry Priv, and there wasn't one. And I also thought that when they came out with the name Priv, I thought it was really, really dumb. But either way, this is still an option. It's running Android 6.0, so quite far behind where we're at now. Battery life, I mean, it probably won't really get you through the day, but it's still a viable phone in some aspects, other than the fact that, like I said, it overheats, battery performance is not very good, and you're missing out on very vital security updates that you're getting with newer phones that are not BlackBerry. So that's the Priv. It's still available. You can still find them refurbished, renewed, used online. I definitely wouldn't buy one that's new just because you're probably going to get charged an arm and a leg for it. And that's really how a lot of these devices are nowadays. If you're going to get one, you're subject to trying to find them on the resale market like Swappa or eBay or Amazon, and it might not be new, and I wouldn't recommend paying full price because it's going to bring me into another segment here in a minute with the BlackBerry Motion, because people want an arm and a leg for this phone. Really, it's ridiculous. So those are the two last true BlackBerry options before we get to the BlackBerry mobile world. So in the BlackBerry mobile world, we have what's probably my number one recommendation if you still want to use a BlackBerry in 2020. It's the BlackBerry Keyone Black Edition. It's got 4 gigabytes of RAM. It didn't have the manufacturer defect issues like the screen that fell out and some other problems. It still holds up very well. I've been using this a lot lately, and I still really love this phone. It was fantastic. The original Keyone irked me because 7 days after I got it, my screen fell out. It was laggy with the 3 gigabytes of RAM. So this one, they fixed that, bumped it up to 64 gigabytes of storage over 32. It's still got that pixel image sensor camera on the back, so it still takes some pretty decent pictures. And overall, it's a really solid phone. Now, you can still find these, some of them brand new in the box. You're still going to run into some of the issues as the older phones, though. Now, it's running Android 8.1, which is better than the other BlackBerry alternatives that are running Android 6 or running BlackBerry 10. This will still support pretty much anything that's out there. You don't have to worry about loss of app support. The keyboard still works like a champ, and it has the 4 gigabytes of RAM, so it performs better overall. No multitasking issues. It really is an enjoyable phone to use. I like it a lot. I think that the keyboard is really, really good. It's got the touch sensitive stuff, and you can find them anywhere from about $200 to $300, either new or in good condition in most cases. Now, the true Black Edition one with the 64 gigabytes of storage and all that stuff might be a little bit more, but you can probably still find some of the older ones. I haven't shopped around for them too much, but still, this right here would probably be my number one recommendation if you still want to use one now. And mainly that's because the camera, to me, is still the best out of the other ones, and it's not going to cost you as much because people are really selling the Key 2s for a lot of money out on the market. Now, the next one is the BlackBerry Motion. I just recently reviewed and did a look back at this phone here this last week. It's essentially the Keyone. It's got the same processor. It's got 4 gigabytes of memory. I believe it's got 32 gigabytes of storage. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good phone, but the problem with this one is you can't find them. If you can find them, they're expensive, and if you find one that's cheap, I wouldn't really recommend it. I don't really recommend anybody going out and buying this phone at this point unless you've used it, you absolutely love it, and it's the phone that you want, and that's what you want to spend your hard-earned money on. Because I've seen a lot of people saying, and I've seen them myself looking around on Amazon, you're looking at $500–600. Some people are wanting for these brand new, and it's just not worth it. It's a Snapdragon 625 processor, which is fine, great for multitasking, 4 gigabytes of RAM. It really was a novel phone, and it was very creative. A lot of cool things about it, and I very much enjoy using it. It's a great phone, but in the year 2020, it's just not worth spending more than probably $199 to get one of these. So it's an option, but there's not really a viable. It's not really a viable one I would pursue unless you just have used this phone before and you love it. Now, the next phone, which is arguably the best, most powerful BlackBerry ever made and is still available. They're very hard to find, especially the red one. But the BlackBerry Key 2, they increased the keyboard size. It still got the touch sensitive features on it. It's got dual 12 megapixel cameras on the back. It's got this nice rubberized backing to it. They moved all the buttons over to the right side, which was something that irked me about the Keyone because the power button was on the left side and you inadvertently hit it all the time. So they moved all the buttons to the right side. Effectively the same screen. It's still the 4.5 inch 1080p modified resolution screen, full HD, and fingerprint sensor built into the space bar, all that good stuff. I really enjoyed this phone. I've had this phone 2 or 3 times. It came out, it was really at that point in time not as much demand, I think, as BlackBerry Mobile really anticipated that there was for Blackberries. It was like $600, $650, $699, I can't remember, but entirely too much money. Had they brought this out around the $449 price point, it would have been much, much better and much more well received, I think. Now, it's got the Snapdragon 660, 6 gigabytes of RAM. It's a very powerful and capable phone, great for multitasking. It's still really good. This right here is the pinnacle of the BlackBerry Android experience, and if you ever use one, you probably love it, and it's going to be good for at least another year or two. Again, the only hang-up is the fact that it's not going to see anything beyond Android 8.1, just because the licensing deal with TCL BlackBerry Mobile is ending at the end of August of this year, and you're not going to get any security updates. So that's the only real concern is security updates, but from a usability perspective, this is going to be good for a long time. It's got the power, it's got the memory, it'll do whatever you need it to do. You have all the app support, and it really is a pleasurable and enjoyable typing experience. So super cool there. Now, last but not least, we have the BlackBerry Key 2 LE. If they released this phone a year prior to when they did, I would wager to guess that they would still be making BlackBerry phones today. This was the most complete. Finally got it right with the pricing. It came out, it was like $449. You can still find these things on sale. I find them and see them all the time. It's unlocked. It worked with Verizon and Comcast or their Xfinity mobile service. They got rid of the touch sensitive keyboard, which I really didn't have any heartburn over because I never really cared for it in the first place. I thought it was an overpriced thing that some people did care for, but I was happy they took it out. They tightened up the keys a little bit. This is probably my most favorite keyboard ever. It's still running Android 8.1. It's got a slightly better Snapdragon processor in it than the Keyone. 4 gigabytes of RAM. So they really realized their problems with the original Keyone, updated all that stuff in the Key 2 LE. Still the same 4.5 inch screen. Some pretty shoddy cameras on the back. I'm not going to lie there. It doesn't take very good pictures at all. If you have optimum daylight, it's great. But if you're out, anything that's outside of optimal lighting is not good. But overall, I think that they captured the BlackBerry experience really, really well, but with Android, and it works and it performs well. I would run into memory issues every once in a while, but that's just because it had 4 gigabytes of memory and the Android operating system combined with the interface that BlackBerry put in here and all their preloaded stuff like the Detect security software, the hub, and all that stuff really sucked up the memory, so it would run into issues every once in a while. Now, these you can still find. Some places are still selling them, especially outside the US and in like Canada, along with the Key 2. You're going to be hard-pressed to find them. They might still have them on Amazon and eBay, but they're fairly well priced. I think around $350. You can probably find it cheaper than that, especially used. But if I were to recommend that you go out and buy a BlackBerry nowadays, it would be probably one of these two, just because you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You're still going to get an enjoyable Android experience, and they work great. But I totally, from the day that the Key 2 LE came out, I fell in love with this phone. I really liked it. The rubberized back, it just felt great, especially carrying it without a case. The only problem with this one, the frame is made out of polycarbonate instead of metal, it's perfectly fine. You're not going to worry about messing it up. But if you put a case on it, or you carry it in your pocket all the time, or it rubs up against your keys, whatever, the finish on here would actually start rubbing off. Like I had a case on here and it would rub on the top corner, so on my red one, and it kind of rubbed some of the paint stuff off. But that's the only real issue I ever ran into with this phone, other than some of the memory complaints. But after if you disable some of the BlackBerry garbage that's running in the background, you don't really run into those problems, and you get a better, smoother experience, I found. But the typing experience, a breeze, totally loved it. It didn't have the whole clicky thing going on like some of the other keyboards. It feels nice and tight. Really, in my opinion, the best typing experience out of all the BlackBerry mobile devices. But anyway, that's all I have on my options that are available for you if you still want to use a BlackBerry device in the year 2020. Like I said, my two choices would be the BlackBerry Key 2 LE or the BlackBerry Keyone, the Black Edition, if you can get one. And if you want to spend the money and you want to track one down, the Key 2 is going to be the best experience you're going to get overall. Totally love the phone. Power, performance, memory management, efficiency, everything, and two good cameras on the back. You can take portrait mode shots, which I've done. It's pretty good. So that's all I've got. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Hopefully if you're a BlackBerry fan, you just enjoyed it anyway, because I really enjoy BlackBerry devices myself, and I still like to watch some of the videos. I really do hope that one day we will get something else. At this point in time, it would be irresponsible for me to lead anyone on and believe that there might be. At this point, all we know is that the licensing agreement with TCL under the BlackBerry mobile name is going to end at the end of August of this year. Beyond that, who knows? I hope somebody or BlackBerry themselves picks up the mantle and makes another device. You know, even if it were like a $300 device like the Key 2 LE, but with an updated processor and Android 10 on it, I would be happy. I would not be using an iPhone. I would not be using a Samsung. I would still be using it, and I still do put my SIM card in these. My SIM card is actually in, my BlackBerry Keyone Black Edition right now. So, yeah, they're still very good, very capable, and if you enjoy BlackBerry, you'll probably still enjoy using one today. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comments section. I'll get back with you. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, like I said in the beginning, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates on the latest and greatest. And thanks for being here again. I appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.